Hello, this is Crypto Neptune, and in today's video, we're going to talk about Telcoin's potential reach due to its GSMA alliance and what that looks like. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice, only use risk capital, and thank you to those who continue to support the channel. So, first, we want to take a quick look at how Telcoin is performing. We are up 2.48% over the last 24 hours, and we're sitting at 0.005 and some change. So, it would be nice to maintain these levels and then continuing on an uptrend. So hopefully going into middle to back half of September, going into the October with the bank announcement, we'll see some continued momentum. But this is where we're sitting right now. So a little bit of green in the chart, sitting at a $494 million market cap and 1.9 million in trading volume over the last 24 hours. So we'll continue to look at this, but right now, as a whole, in the crypto market, looks like the sentiment of the whole crypto market is trending in a bullish type of sentiment. So we'll see how things go. Now, getting into Telcoin's potential reach and kind of what that looks like with the GSMA alliance. So I'm looking at this particular post here from GSMA, and it basically writes, we recently released a white paper exploring how a stablecoin arrangement could be introduced within the telecommunications market. Yep. And then we got this nice, cool post here from Ricardo, and it says GSMA's telco stablecoin development white paper reflects a pivotal step towards embedding digital cash into the telecom ecosystem. Yeah, so the short and sweet of this is that Telcoin wrote the white paper for GSMA. So that alone, with Telcoin's kind of stamp of approval and people in the GSMA directory, once more and more people find out that Telcoin was directly influenced this white paper, and they also have the ability to have digital cash, aka stablecoins, that is an absolute game changer for Telcoin. But it shows the many different layers of Telcoin and what this could look like and what that buy pressure and usage could look like for Telcoin as a whole. And then if we go over here, so I'm over here on Perplexity and I wanted a little bit more information. And it basically says over here, because I'm trying to summarize kind of the potential impact if even like a sliver of GSMA members come on with Telcoin, if that makes sense. And it says here, even a minority of GSMA members joining the Telcoin network, the financial impact on Telcoin could be substantial. Yeah. So it's positioning Telcoin to be set up in like a positive light, if that makes sense. It says GSMA companies or GSMA comprises over 750 mobile operators and 400 associate members, so totaling 1,150 member organizations. And with all those member organizations, what do each one of these have? They all have users, they all have clients, they all have customers, and that's what we're trying to tap into. We're trying to tap into those members and their subscribers or their customers. So that's the big grand scheme of things. Collectively, GSMA operators represent nearly 5 billion mobile connections worldwide. So remember in that interview where Paul Nooner basically said his North Star would be 3 billion plus users? Well, this is the way this is looking. They're trying to tap into this GSMA operators. And again, at full scale, it's kind of like sky's the limit with Telcoin. But again, it's essentially executing at the right time and making sure you're setting yourself up for this bull run. And they've already said they're going to bring on 50 mobile network operators by the end of the year. And it says global stablecoin remittance market. So the global remittance market exceeds 200 billion, and this could potentially reach 1.6 trillion to 3.7 trillion by 2030. So again, by being early, creating something like digital cash backed by one-to-one reserves, could be an absolute game changer for Telcoin. And again, tapping into those GSMA members. So again, I said, okay, what does this look like? So let's say Telcoin brought on 10% of the GSMA partners. That's 115 partners, and the global reach potentially is 500 million users. And what would that look like? I mean, imagine those users constantly in there using digital cash, right? I mean, it's gonna go slow, and then all of a sudden, it's just gonna ramp up to like a crazy scale. And it says significant boost in network fees. So yeah, the uses of Telcoin utility, fiat ramp volume, and remittance flows. So, and again, like we've mentioned before, 50 MNOs are coming in by the end of the year. So you cut that in half. This is probably roughly like around 5% of the members that they're bringing on, if that makes sense. But a lot of people are going to be wanting to align with Telcoin because they don't want to get left behind. And let's say they get 25% of the GSMA members. That's 288 partners, 1.25 billion users. And it says strong network effects. Telcoin becomes a staple in telecom driven DeFi and remittance markets, potentially scaling of market cap and revenues proportionally. And then if at 50%, that's 575 partners, 2.5 billion users, and it's transformable. It's transformational, excuse me. Transformational is that's what I'm trying to say. So Telcoin could capture notable share of multi-currency global stablecoin volume. Yeah, because we already know what this looks like. If we go back here from a multi-currency perspective, they've already got this all laid out here. Look at all this. So imagine this digital cash just boom, just going all over the world, just nonstop all over the world at a full scale. Yeah, they're already positioning themselves the way they've layered this, and to have it look like its own like local currency is a game changer. So this is some cool stuff. And then here again, some other key factors that they talk about: the transaction fees. Every mobile user transacting stablecoin on Telcoin generates network fees paid in TEL, which makes sense. Telcoin utility appreciation. It says users by operators and end users drives demand for TEL token, which secures the network and powers transactions. And then cross-border remittance volume. Telecom operator adoption brings global flows directly onto Telcoin rails. And then exchange listings. New partnerships and user growth may trigger tier one exchange listings, increasing liquidity and valuation potential. Yeah, so that's true. Like the more volume you got coming in through and the usage on the Telcoin token, the more eyebrows that's going to raise for tier one exchanges. So we want the demand and usage to be at an all time high. So people in the app using it for remittances, trading different cryptos. That's what we want. The more volume, the more people look at you for a tier one exchange. And then it says here in conclusion, if Telcoin captures even 10% of GSMA members, it could see hundreds of millions in transaction volume and significant gains in utility and value. At 25% or 50% adoption, Telcoin stands to become a foundational layer for global digital cash. Yeah, so that's a game changer. And this is kind of like a little bit of a flow chart. Basically, this is representing 500 million, and that's from a user perspective. 1.25 billion users, and then 2.5 billion users here. That's what all that's kind of represent. Estimated user reach and financial impact for Telcoin by GSMA adoption scenario. Yep, so that's kind of what all this is looking like. So cool stuff there. So I hope you gained some value from this video. And oh yeah, one other thing before we go. So looking over here at the GSMA directory, Amazon. You see Amazon, you see Apple, you see AT&T. Like imagine some of these heavy hitters in here with all their users and subscribers being brought onto the Telcoin network. So a lot of big time people in here. And then if we go and look further, Verizon, even Verizon's in here. So a lot of familiar names that you're familiar with are GSMA members, if that makes sense. So I hope you gained some value from this video as we dive into kind of the potential impact of the GSMA members and then kind of like that impact on Telcoin's price, because this could be bigger than expected. But again, we just have to wait for those announcements and kind of see how this plays out. But from a product perspective and from a partnership perspective, they're heading in the right direction. They just have to keep building and continuing to get the word out about Telcoin. So the stars could be aligning. I want to thank you for listening to this video, and thanks for stopping by.